Man, that was nice. I'm using this lip balm I made, and I just got a kiss. I was told that my lips are really nice. That's always a good compliment. All right. Welcome, you beautiful souls. What's high tea? Ouch. The higher vibrations. So, I don't always do this on these calls. Today I was really called to. Blue honey. Take a little bit. Light my candle. Actually, it's already lit. This time. Back so you can see it too. All right. So welcome, welcome. I'm just gonna get up screen here. Oh, if anybody wants to type in, you can. Again, I'm still learning this platform, so let's see if this works. Oh, I think I'm there. Let's see how this goes. Oh no. It says Ashley is not live right now. Okay. Well, regardless, we're recording, so let's go. If anyone was unable to make it live, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on. Again, this is just a new platform for me. I guess we've been using it for a few months now, but I like to take things in little steps. And instead of trying to overwhelm myself by getting it all right away once I've committed to something, obviously I've done enough research that I know that it's the decision that I want to make. But once the commitment's made, I like to just take little steps so I can hone in on specific things. And one of the first steps is just making sure that I show up. And yeah, like I'm definitely not perfect, but I show up at noon every single Sunday. I also show up on Instagram too, which is yeah, almost becoming more difficult as the time goes on. Today I wasn't able to go live, but I still share like little reels and things like that. So it's all in good fun. We'll start today with one of the things that I did share over there, which was just a quick little meditation. This is like it's really empowering. Like, how many times do we get quotes and all that kind of stuff sent to us in a day? Probably a lot. We're absorbing a lot of information in a day. And if you're going out seeking motivational quotes and sayings and all that, then you're like overloading even more. And something that I see all the time is that this positivity becomes toxic because it's attaching to all kinds of gross things inside of yourself that you have been holding on to, like the sludge, right? This is what we call an emotional colonic, when we find outlets that we can actually remove that stuff so that the positivity can not only stick to the BS, but actually, fill the space, this open space that's been made. So this is why working with the seasons is so important, right? Where we have this winter to uh, very much like the plant life, this is when you start germinating seeds and things like that, right? So we're underground now. This is all earth energy. We're under there. We're waiting. We're in the darkness. And soon in spring, that's when we come to the light. With so much stuff going on in the world right now, it can seem scary, which can become very easily. However, it's all just like a fractal of ourselves, right? So if we're able to, in ourselves, align with those patterns with nature, to have that understanding, that connection with her, something that psychedelics really help us do, then that is going to have its own natural ripple effect. And that ripple effect soon turns into a wave. This is one of the reasons why I chose to be a coach so much, is because I noticed just in myself that once I started healing certain things, it was easier to have those conversations. And I was automatically drawing in the kind of people that wanted to have those kinds of conversations, that I could handle challenges a little bit better. And the more that I aligned with nature, the more I understood even humanity. Like, we are all natural beings. And you can start seeing the difficulties that people have because of being out of alignment. And yeah, I think the biggest thing today, and the reason why I was inspired to do the Instagram reel that I did, was because I was seeing that all these quotes were coming up, and I'm like, nobody's actually using them. You're sharing them. Like, even me right now, I'm taking all the stuff that's happening from around the world, mainly here in Canada, though. Some of the filmage, some of the live footage, some of the memes and all that, and making a kind of like, what's that called? Like collage. You guys are with me. But I'm bringing them all together, right? And I think we do that on our Pinterest page, on our Instagram page, on our hard drive inside of our computers, on Post-it notes all around our house or anything like that. We're looking at these things, but we're not actually integrating them. So what I did today was took one of my favorite ones from yesterday, which was, "Dear universe, blow me away with blessings," or "I allow you to blow me away with blessings." I don't know if you saw my candle flicker there. It's listening. That fire energy is listening. And it is. So yeah, that's what I did on the reel. Was I took my favorite quote and I just screamed it out loud and I made it my own. And that's the most important part, right? Is taking it and getting it in your own words, so it's your own type of understanding. This is why swearing kind of works, like, it does have a stigma, but it does work because it expresses passion. That passion then makes the word or the phrase or the story your own. And then you remember, and then it feeds even more energy. And, so this is just one way of doing that, is bringing your passion to the quote. And so this quote was, "Dear universe, I'll give all permission to rain on me with blessings, to blow me away with blessings, to bring forward blessings to myself, to my heart, to the community, to the country, to the world, to the globe, to the animals." Just bring it in, allow it to integrate inside of yourself, and release. Allow everything that doesn't need to be there anymore attached to these words and come out of you with your breath, come out of you with your sweat, come out of you with your words. And then you can fill that place up with positivity. So now we'll do it again. Dear universe, sorry, Christian came in, is totally distracting me. I know you're saying I'm not live. I already knew that. I'm just recording it. I saw on Odyssey that I wasn't going live. I really appreciate you, though. I don't know what went on with that. I think it's just a tech issue. If you can reach out to anybody in Signal and just let them know. But I'm going to continue because I'm live and I still got more stuff to do today. Yeah. Thank you. All right, this is the beauty of going live, right? Okay, you guys still with me? Let's do this again. We're going to scream out the quote. Say it the way I do. Go find it on my IG story, or make it your own. Whatever. Say it to yourself. Lay down, sit down, stand up, jump up and down. Whatever it is, let's make this your own. And like as I said, just visualize this going out to everybody, visualize and trust that what's inside of you, that doing this work for yourself is going to have a ripple effect. Just trust it. It's so true. All right. This is what synchronicities are all about. Just being in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And oftentimes that is the self-care that we're forgetting. All right. So again, dear universe, I grant full permission to rain down on me with blessings, to blow me away with blessings, to bring forward blessings to my heart, to myself, to my family, to the collective, my community, my country, my planet, my home. Thank you. Thank you guys for sharing this moment with me. I really hope you can keep this up. I wanted to keep it really simple today. There's a few other things I did want to do. I apologize, this isn't live, but I'm not good with these tech things. So I would rather just continue recording than to figure all that out and then waste your time and mine, because nobody really wants to see that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Oh man. Oh, my textbook. My new one. Right? Okay, so you guys have seen this a couple times. I brought it into the camera. I felt it's too good not to share. And I know not all of you guys can afford it either. So what I'm going to do is, as I go through specific chapters, as things stand out, as I notice that things are relevant to what you've shared with me in the Signal group, in private chat, over the phone, I'll come on to these Sunday calls, or if you're watching the recorded version, like I'm sure many of you will be today, that you have access to the same wealth of knowledge from this master guide, encyclopedia, that I do. Okay, so let's read out. Okay, first I want to say this is the Encyclopedia of Psychoactive Plants, Ethnopharmacology and its Applications. It's by Christian Ratsch. I'm not sure if I'm saying that. Ratsch. Ratsch. And then forwarded by Albert Hoffman, which you guys know him as from Bicycle Day, from LSD. Probably many more sources, but those are probably what they're known for. Some people who commented on this, the main one that I think you guys will know is Rick Strassman, and he has been talking about DMT on spirit science too, which is a great resource. I think you guys would really enjoy, and they're here on Odyssey as well as YouTube and like many more sources too. So as we open it up, they start talking about here just why this is the book to buy, of course. But I think the biggest thing is that this is such a large encyclopedia, literally, of information on these plants. I believe the largest. I think that's why I got it, was because it was the largest. But another reason was just because Dr. Dan Engel recommended it, so I had to listen. He served me very well in my life and was very much a part of essentially like even fingering up a little bit, and myself never met him in person, but a mentor that I would show up to his live calls once a week, and it was, he was great with Finn. It was a beautiful community. It really inspired so much of my journey, and so his advice always served me well, and once I had the money, I got it. All right, so this is the biggest book on this stuff. We've got 168 of the most well-known psychoactives, such as cannabis, Papaver. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right either. I'm sure there's a lot that I'm going to be learning in here. And prevents the monographs on 135 lesser known plants. Also explores plants used by indigenous peoples that have not yet been identified by modern botanists, as well as plants and psychoactive substances known only from mythological contexts and literature such as ephemeron, Kyakion, and Soma. And he also does, here's my one, right? Is they do also include fungi, right? And that was another reason why I got it. I wasn't sure because it's psychoactive plants. I was like, are they going to talk about mushrooms? I was like, my main call to medicine. I was like, mushrooms and Cambo. So I almost couldn't justify getting the book because I'm like, if it's talking about plants, I'm not going to find either of my favorite medicines. But I was still drawn to it. I'm like, there's something in here for me, and I've been so grateful and so excited, which is why I'm bringing it here to you guys, right? But they do go into mushrooms. I don't think you'll find any Cambo or Sonoran Desert Toad, but they'll definitely talk about different ways of get accessing DMT. So I'm just a couple. Well, I'm past the introduction now. Like everything in here is long. I don't know if you can see, but it's like so. Um, we leave it in the bathroom, and when Tristan and I take like time out, we will read a page to each other, and that's how we're getting through it and doing the accountability. And then on the weekends, I'm reading another book that I love, and that's like my essentially like my break. This is like my workbook. I'm considering this as like I'm doing homework, additional work on top of it. This is like my new education. I've taken a lot of courses in my lifetime, and it feels really good to be creating my own in a way. So, some other things I wanted to share in here. Okay, forward, preface. They were great. I read every single word, and I've done that with other encyclopedias too, but mainly herbs and herbs, different foods, like the encyclopedia on foods. I can't remember how many foods it was, but at least it was like all the main ones that you find in grocery stores were documented, and like along with uses, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. So this is still the biggest one. So I did food. Oh, and natural medicine. So this is my fourth, and it's the biggest. And I'm excited. And I wasn't 100% sure I'd be committed to it, but as I go through, it just gets better and better. Okay, so in the introduction, they're talking about. I'll just read. Okay. So, what are psychoactive plants? This question get asked a lot. So, I'll just read from here, and I'll read some of the quotes that are on the side too, because I think some of it's just really beautiful. And I didn't even know who some of these people were. I didn't actually know how many people have been on this underground movement for so long. Uh, all right, so what are psychoactive plants? Psychoactive plants are plants that people ingest in the form of simple or complex preparations in order to affect the mind or alter the state of consciousness. Consciousness is an energy field that can expand, shift like an amoeba through the hidden corners of the world, dissolve in the ocean of desire, or crystallize in geometric clarity. Through the use of psychoactive plants and products, consciousness can be paralyzed, subdued, and contained. It can also be animated, stimulated, and expanded. Because psychoactive plants affect the mind, they have been characterized as mind moving substances. Okay, so here's something I want to add. There's a lot of definitions, and I'll get to that in just a couple minutes here for what psychedelic actually means. So my mentor, Dr. Dan Engel, he calls it soul manifesting, because it's psychedelic. They say mind manifesting. In this encyclopedia, they're using um, mind moving substances. So there's a lot of different ones, and there's even more that I didn't even know of that they actually explain in here, and kind of who's using what terms and why, which I thought was interesting. Not exactly, everything, but anyway, that's how they're explaining what psychedelics are. In the pharmacological literature, which commonly refers to them as mind-altering substances, psychoactive plants are clearly and systematically classified by precise scientific definitions. Okay, so here we go. We'll get into some of them because I love the way that they categorize this. So I did do like a master list on different psychedelics that you guys can forage for that are just naturally, and I categorize them by where in the world they are. I made a video on it. I made an article that was published on Psychedelic on it. I also did the master list that Dr. Dan talks about, but I went in a little bit more detail categorizing them because I thought it was a great teaching by him that didn't go um, beyond his words. I didn't see anybody creating anything on it, and I felt it was a cool way of categorizing them. Mind you, I again didn't go into a lot of detail because not everybody found the same interest as me. It didn't go very far. So I left it at those simple things. The way that they organized it here, I found I really also loved because they did it by stimulants, sedatives, and hallucinogens. And you'll see this talked about in pharmaceuticals and in supplements and things like that too. One that didn't really come up was nootropics, which I think is more new and wasn't discussed the same way, but it would probably be in there today as a type. So stimulants, uppers. This category compromises substances that wake one up, stimulate the mind, incite the initiative, and may even cause euphoria, but that do not affect any changes in perception. Among the most important plants in this category are coffee, tea, cacao, mate, coca. And there's a few others I can't really pronounce, and I'm gonna have to, again, I'm taking this information and I'm looking up specific things so I can go deeper in what actually resonates with me. I'm not doing that with everything in the book because it would just be way too much. But what resonates with me, and this is why it's empowering to create your own educational program, is that the ones that do actually resonate, I'm going to do more research on and make articles on. And perhaps once the articles are all out, maybe even make another book. This is how the new book Rebirth is going out. This is a little bit different with Be the Change. Be the Change was like me just, how did I live my life in a year aligned with nature? And then I was able to share that out and be able to ripple it out into the other areas of my life so that it was all aligned with nature, if that makes sense. So a little bit different, but this last one, Rebirth, that was just articles that I put out, and eventually, somebody loved what I was doing. A beautiful lady here, part of our community, Juliana, and she said, I'm going to help you put them all together into a book, and it's coming out soon. So really cool. And I'll likely do the same thing here. All the stuff that really resonates or that I find you guys are asking a lot of questions about, that shows me that there's a lot of interest, and whatever it is that I find where I can go deeper onto specific things, I'll get out to you guys. I also wanted to talk on here. So when they're talking about stimulants and stuff like that, I love that they mention this stuff. Yeah, coffee, tea, cacao, which is chocolate. Those are all psychedelics. Like, this is ethnopharmacology. This is, they have definitions in being psychedelic. But here's the thing too, is that they are saying it doesn't affect any changes in perception, but it does give you energy. And there's a few other ones too. Um, Another thing I want to hint on here that I love is that coca shows up. And when I was in South America, I really enjoyed coca leaves. I was never ever a fan of cocaine. I definitely did some crazy things in my younger age, a decade in the hospitality and tourism industry, raised by party people. I I definitely did try it, but it was never my thing. When I was in South America, though, it was beautiful. Like, uh, you can get coca leaves on the side of the street. They give you the energy that it takes to actually climb mountains, which I love doing in bare feet and going through ruins in bare feet and just like all this stuff. And it gave me the energy to do that without any negative side effects. In fact, coca actually helps with your gut, with indigestion. It helps oxygenate your blood. There's so many things. But then, there's this thing that happened where it got turned into cocaine. You can still, here's another thing too, that coca, to grow coca is illegal in most places, but in others, like South America, it is still legal. They can't cut it out, just like they couldn't cut out, mushrooms from British Columbia because they're growing wild, or in different parts of the UK too, because they're just everywhere. Liberty caps is meant to like liberate the people. They're here for us, and there was a lot of corruption that went in there. I don't think that it was any South American themselves that said, hey, I'm going to take this beautiful plant medicine and do some chemical experiments with it and make it something that's going to earn money and corrupt the world. I think it was somebody from the dominator culture that went down there and exploited it, because this plant is still so sacred to people in South America. It is revered for its health benefits. It's beautiful. Cocaine, something totally different. And you can get, like, I didn't feel high having the leaves, having the tea, or anything. Um, for a little extra boost, though, for anybody who is down there that wants to play with it, what we would do is mix it with baking soda, and while we were chewing, we just put our finger in baking soda and put it in our mouth, and it gives you kind of that mouth sensation, but in a healthier way with no come down or anything. It's yeah, it's different. And definitely I would say like on that stimulant scale, but again, when you're working with the plants versus the chemical compounds, totally different thing, right? It's the same with chocolate in nutrition. Chocolate is now full of creams and sugars, both of which crazy addictive. You guys, like that cream, if you think about breast milk for babies, all right, that is what the milk is. And that's what cream is. And then heavy cream is even more condensed. Cheese is even more condensed. There's a reason why vegans have a hard time letting go of cheese. It's so addicting. And the reason for this is breastfeeding women will create a type of morphine. And then that's why the baby knows and craves to come to the mom for that essential drug that leads to nutrition. The, the conspiracy here, the cowspiracy, is that cows are much bigger than us, which means that their milk is going to have more of that type of morphine, which is actually called casein, in the supply. And then that gets condensed down, which means then we're even getting a bigger hit. This is very addicting, and a lot of people are lactose sensitive, even if they're not lactose intolerant, where it's causing huge issues. It can cause chronic issues in people who are sensitive. And I would say 80 to 90% of the population is sensitive, depending on where your culture is, how much of it you had in your traditional diet. Because it's our ancestors from 7 years before us that are still feeding our DNA and telling us what it is that we need. It's what our actual DNA and bacteria from the soil are still teaching us from these medicines that have been around, from the food that's been grown by our ancestors. And so there's a big difference, and we all know sugar is addictive and what that's doing. So, uh, yeah, I'm sure you've heard me talk about that before if you're working with me. Uh, when you're having like the raw cacao, and this is what we do in our families, we have cacao ceremonies. And so we're lighting a fire, we're boiling down cacao paste, not boiling it down because we're not adding water, but sometimes I do add coconut oil just to help melt it down. But it just goes kind of like in a double boiler. So we have a pot of water, and in that pot of water, we put a glass measuring cup and we put the cacao paste in. We put in some honey or maple syrup or coconut sugar or whatever we want into it. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't even do that step. And then sometimes I do either cacao butter, which is already in the cacao paste, but it's just a little extra and it tastes so good. And um, and or coconut oil, which again just helps the process of melting it down and gives it that nice shine. And sometimes we decide to make chocolate bars. Sometimes we decide to just dip dates and into it, or peanut butter. Sometimes um, make hot chocolates, or yeah, different things. Sometimes we put it all over popcorn. Different things that we do, and it is a nice little ceremony. Kids like to switch it up, and we get to also show them how special it is to put your love into something so beautiful that everybody really enjoys. I really truly believe that chocolate being associated with every holiday is because it brings and ignites love inside of us. However, what the corporations have done with this medicine, they're not honoring that spirit at all. They've exploited the people and exploited the beautiful plant, which it is. Um, and I do feel that same way about coca. I feel that same way about cannabis and about mushrooms, about so many things. But I guess to keep us on time today, again, make sure we're getting the most of this call. I'm going to go down to the next one here: sedatives, hypnotics, narcotics. These are the downers. But I can tell you which one's in here. You guys probably know too. This category includes all kinds of calmative, sleep-inducing, anxiety-reducing, anesthesiating substances. I didn't even know that was a word. Anesthesiizing. Anesthesiizing. All right, good. Moving on. Which sometimes induces perceptual changes such as dream images, and also often evokes feelings of euphoria. The most important psychoactive plants and products in this category are poppy, opium, valerian, and hops. Okay, so let's see if you guys can figure out all this. So, both the stimulants and the sedatives can bring on euphoria, right? So, this is why we want them. This is why they've been exploited. Why it is that we're giving them, but in controlled environments, much like porn, right? It's like you guys can have all the sex you want right here when you're looking at a screen, and we can watch you, when we can tell you what you want, when we can entice you and show you ads right when you're vulnerable, and we can take all that sexual energy right out of you. Sure, you can have that coffee, you can have the cream. We're just going to get you so addicted so we get all your money. Fuck, I hate all that stuff. I hate it. I hate what these people have done. And yeah, I know I do teachings on anger and rage and hate, but it is still natural. I can be in peace and that at the same time. let's let's see here. We've also got um poppy, which is opium, right? And this has caused a lot of wars in Afghanistan, where a lot of the opium has come from. A lot of the fentanyl that comes from China. So I think one of the reasons why Canada has such a big problem with the opiates here is, maybe the MP in charge and his connections and love for that one specific country that is looking much like ours now. And it's sad. It's sad that so many people have been hurt by this, and it's sad that U.S. was in war and Canadian troops were there too in Afghanistan, and it may have all been for just one cause: the pharmaceutical industry keeping you guys addicted for the rest of your lives. And I won't stand for that. I'm so about coming back to nature and bringing these lessons back to life. I never believed in, oppressing the elderly, putting them in homes where, or on medications where they can't share anymore. You know, I I believe that there's so much information out there. I used to love going to cemeteries, not for any creepy reasons, but I would just think I did lose a lot of people, so there was reasons for me to be at cemeteries. I'll say that. Um, but I think the biggest thing in that is I wouldn't be sad when I was there. I would think about, what did that person leave behind? Was it a story? Was it a book? Maybe they didn't speak at all. Maybe they didn't leave much behind. Maybe they left children behind. Maybe they, what was their life like in whatever year that their tombstone says? I would just ask a lot of questions. And I think it really did shape some of the ways that some of my worldviews and things like that too, some of my spiritual views as well. And it has me connected to a lot of people that grieve. Also a lot of people that are here on this planet right now that want to do good things, be big, have a big impact, start their own ripple effect, because truth is we're here now, right? So Valerian, that's definitely a sleep. This is a lucid dreaming herb. It's not one that I've worked with. Though I have actually seen that one in gardens before knowing that it was psychedelic. I don't know if the person who I was visiting knew either, but beautiful flower used for dream time. And hops. Hops would be like beer, the ferments. Hops, there's like many uses for it, but the main use, again, coming back to this addiction, right? This is alcohol. And this is a big problem again, just like the opiates, just like the fentanyl, big problem in North America, around the world. I see it a lot more here because Native Americans, which I am, this is like, I'm also French too. On my dad's side, French outlaws. On my mom's side, Native Americans. I think on my dad's side, there's still Métis too. So I think there's like, I'm just a mutt. All right. Um, and there's this thing about just on the French side, on the native side, where alcohol just runs through the bloodline like crazy, and it didn't serve any good. It brings out violence. It keeps people from living their full potential. It is definitely a sedative. It's definitely a numbing agent. And the way that alcohol is made today, the way it was made when the European settlers came to Canada, came to North America, it came to South America, very different than the ferments used by the South American people, which would be like chicha, which is a great, wonderful fermented drink, or here in North America, kombucha, which again is great fermented drink. There's lots of fermented drinks that are out there. You can make your own apple cider wine things, which I did on my 25th birthday. Make dandelion wine, nettle beer, these kinds of things. Great, but the way that it's consumed today and at the quantities that it's at today, it's almost like what they're doing with the cannabis, where they're taking certain um, parts of it, like the THC and extracting it, making these crystals and diamonds and waxes and all this kind of stuff. And people are like really getting addicted to it. Not only that, but they're missing the soul of the plant. It can't talk to you in the same ways if you're missing the whole. It's like whole food. If you're eating processed foods, you're not getting the whole message, in which case your body's still going to feel like it's lacking something. So really important, you guys, that wholeness, right? And this is what you get by fermenting, is you get that wholeness, because then whatever you're fermenting is now getting new life force energy. It's alive, it's being fed, and then it feeds you. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. What's not beautiful is what I saw for a decade, working in different bars around the country, and um, and what I saw in my own family, growing up. So there is definitely a difference in how it is that you're working with these things. And sedatives, I think, are definitely more of what the dominator culture wants us using. But again, they want to control it and use it in their way. And don't you notice that we're not getting the anti-anxiety effects either? Mental health issues, especially with anxiety, has upped, because again, this isn't the whole plant. What they're doing with the chocolate, what they're doing with the cocoa, what they're doing with coffee, it's very, very different than how it's meant to be used. And it's missing that whole, it's missing the whole picture. And then we walk around wondering, what's the missing piece of the puzzle? What's missing? There's something missing. It's because you're not eating whole food. It's because the medicines that you're using, they're not whole. And then you're not whole. You're missing pieces. And there's one way to fix that, and that's by knowing what you're having and voting with your dollar for what it is that you want. What world you want to be living in. Okay, last one here is hallucinogens, all arounders. This category encompasses all those substances that produce distant alterations in perception, sensations of space and time, and emotional states. Most of the plants discussed in this encyclopedia fall into this category. Over the course of time, these substances have been referred to under a variety of names. So here's the definitions I was speaking of. Psychotomimetics, imitating psychosis. Psychotica, introducing psychosis. Hallucinogens, causing hallucinations. Psychedelics, mind manifesting. Entheogens, invoking the divine within. That's my favorite one. Entheogens, invoking the divine within. I feel that. Entactogens, promoting self-knowledge. I like that too. Empathogens, stimulating empathy. I'm sure you guys feel that too. Eidetics, giving rise to ideas. Psychotogenetics, affecting the mind. Psychodysleptics. Let me try that again. Psychodysleptics, softening the mind. Today, the most commonly used term is still hallucinogen. By definitions, a hallucinogen is a substance that invokes hallucinations, which are now medically defined as sensory delusions that may involve several senses and are not the result of corresponding external sensory stimuli, but process reality for the affected person. Also occur in schizophrenia, stimulated brain states. Because the term hallucination now has a psychopathical tinge to it, non-medical circles and publications usually refer to the term as psychedelic entheogen or visionary substance, and accordingly speaks of psychedelic, entheogic, or visionary experiences. And so we see this too, right, with Terence McKenna when he was doing his lectures on schizophrenia actually being a type of shamanism. So all you people that are like having that are drawn to working with these medicines that have mental health disorders that you've been on medication, how does it feel to know your government has actually been suppressing this, has actually been keeping you away from your work that's here to do? Yes, I understand that sometimes medication will help people. Yes, I understand that um, medical doctors and emergency rooms and hospitals come in handy in a state of emergency, but who's to say what is a state of emergency and what is not? Sure, if you are going to hurt yourself or somebody else, but not everybody who comes off crazy is actually crazy, and this is what it's saying now. And you guys can go listen to Terence McKenna's lectures on this. I found them really, really fascinating. He actually one time, taking large amounts of psychedelics, went into a state of schizophrenia himself. I feel I was kind of on the edge of this at one point in time too. I was doing trip sitting way back before Finn was born. So I'd take people out onto the trails, bare feet, everybody working with mushroom medicine. And I remember one time I was really under the influence because every time this was a heroic dose and I'd be guiding it and I'd take the same dose. And the trees were talking to me, which wasn't out of the normal. But what was is that there was this part in my brain that said, if you listen right now and you go into that darkness, that is schizophrenia, or that you won't come out of. And it was that feeling that I was able to hold on to and say, okay, well, there's that boundary not to cross, at least not at this time, or it was something like that. It was a very strange conscious decision, but it did input a memory into me saying like caution, and it was the trees talking to me. And yeah, very hallucination, very much a hallucination. But also, this is coming into that schizophrenia thing. And, I could have gone into a bad trip at that moment. I made a different decision. I chose laughter. I chose barefoot. Uh, I chose peace. I chose to find peace inside of myself with whatever came. And that was the decision I made at that time. I haven't had anything like that happen to me since that day. But, I listened to a lot of Terence McKenna at that point in time, and, probably that lecture about shamanism might have been one of them. And maybe that was me, exploring what that would look like. Because I do find it very interesting, the shamanistic path. Many consider me that way, and, or have asked me even if that's what I am, or told me that that's what I am. I don't necessarily identify with that, but it does spike my curiosity into those realms. I definitely do sense things in a different way, premonitions and such, but I don't associate with any ideology. If there was going to be anything, I would just say I'm an old school soul, and I've been here a few times. I'm sure one time, at least, I was a witch. Another time, I would say I was a native elder that, got really scared. And, I think another time I was a kid that didn't make it. And, there's like a few other things that I just feel like I've been here a long time in a lot of different bodies. I don't know if that's what shamanism is. Can sense things. I always put it that all of it, all of the revelations, all of the sensitivities that I have to things, I give it to this medicine, especially magic mushrooms. Psilocybin has been in my life for 18 years. 18 years. I've been guided. This plant, this fungus, it raised me. That's what I am. It's something I definitely have a lot of reverence and respect for. That's for sure. So I don't associate with the ideologies. Here, I do find it really interesting though, and it's something that I chose to go more into because of the because of the mental health issues, and that medications, I never have the interest to study the specific medications that anybody's on. I studied the ones that I was prescribed a long time ago, but there's so much more out there from when I made the decision to go natural, than and so um yeah, let's come into some other things because they do ask other questions here. Hopefully read a little bit more. Um, was there anything on that? Before I move on. Okay, yeah. So they say schizophrenia and brain states. Oh, visionary substance. That was the other one. So this, whenever I hear visionary, I always think of the Greys who do Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, where visionary, that's like the beautiful art. That is the master manifestors that can visualize what they want. This is a human design of the manifestor or generator. This is the visionary, and we can all be that. You know, I even like to think of myself as a visionary, but even though I study positive psychology and things like that, I study it the same way as I study the dark psychology because I know I'm both. I'm not just a visionary, and I can't do what Alex and Allison Gray can do either. But they are straight up visionaries. Those are artistic gods. They just channel the gods through their paintbrush. It's incredible to watch. So I did want to just point that out. I love the word visionary experience because I think we all get a piece of that euphoria. What they're doing over there, Alex and Allison Gray, is that they're bringing back that beautiful world that we get to experience, and they're putting it on paper. They have this great way of channeling it out of the experience, and they attract so many artists that are doing the same thing. And yeah, really wanted to share that for anybody who's not familiar. I'm sure most of you are. Okay, so the use of psychoactive plants. I think I'm going to skip that one. Drug culture, I'll skip. How about here? Okay, yeah. This one I'll read out because I think it would resonate. Is ritual uses of psychoactive substances. It's possible to clarify many psychoactive plants and the products made from them into different types of rituals that reflect how they're used. Obviously. Teach you all about that preparation in the group. I also wrote, for anybody who's not familiar, I did write integration guides on socialdelic.com. The video version of it are also available here on Odyssey if you just scroll down a while, or over on YouTube where you can type it into the search bar with elemental growth, setting intentions. All right. All right, so let's dive in here. So we have the shamanic initiation. And so this surprised me in that the fly organic mushroom, so the Amanita muscaria, was a shamanic initiation. I did not know that. But, like, how cool is that? It makes sense, I guess, because of the Christmas stories that were told there. But I didn't know. And I thought that there would be a lot of medicines for shamanic initiation. But Amanita muscaria and cigar tobacco or nicotina, those are the two shamanic initiations. And so here's another thing, that happened. They didn't put tobacco in the stimulant, in the hallucinogenic. They didn't put it in any of those categories. Tobacco may just be like the gates to those other worlds. It's used in many different shamanic ceremonies, ayahuasca, Campbell, It's used in Native American culture. It's on our medicine wheel. We have four medicines, and tobacco being a main one. Tobacco is also illegal to grow unless you're Native American. So if you're Native American, go grow your own tobacco, because tobacco is beautiful. What is sold in the stores to people is sickening. It's grown in 24 or 21 different chemical fertilizers. Gross, 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 gross. That means it's sterile. Who wants to be sterile? You want to be sterile? Never have any kids, never grow? Gross. Gross. You don't want that. You want life force energy. You want those bugs. You want the life, from the planet going into that plant and then feeding and nourishing you and giving you the connections from all that life force. Okay, this is life force. This is how you actually feed yourself, and how you're going to feed your soul through a shamanic ritual using tobacco. If you've got a native friendship center or something close to you, you can go ask them or trade them for tobacco seeds. You can ask them for some. You can just trade something for it. They love get offerings. And that's just something I do anyway. Even if I'm foraging in nature, I do give an offering. Sometimes it's just saying thank you because I don't have anything on me. Sometimes it's hair for compost, or like something else I see around, or some food that I have on me, maybe a nut for a squirrel that's going to poop it out later, and then there's going to be a plant, but some sort of an offering. You'll likely be able to get tobacco, after they, like, the stuff that you're getting from the stores. It's like after it's grown and all that gross chemical, it's then they add the flavor enhancers and the preservatives. So you're not only getting 21 chemicals, you're getting like a buttload more. And it's literally killing people, and it has been for a long time. And it's crazy, crazy addictive. Crazy addictive. And now they do these vape pens. I know some of you guys are using them. Let's talk, because I got off of mine. I quit smoking cigarettes a long time ago, quit the vape shortly after, 6 months after, I was off of all of it. Yeah, so there's ways to do it. It's no good for you. What is good for you, though, and what you can use in shamanic practice, is grow your own tobacco. Who cares what they say? It's a beautiful plant. It grows fast. The seeds are abundant, and this is like such an ancient medicine. Shamanic healing rituals: ayahuasca, snuffs, sibyl, mushrooms, San Pedro. These are the healing rituals. So these are the ones that the shamans use. The shamanic ritual circles: ayahuasca, mushrooms, hemp, so the cannabis, and San Pedro. Vision quests: Kinnick. I think I'm saying that correctly. Kinnick. Thorn apples, also known as datura, and tobaccos again shows up for vision quests. Again, the reason why I think tobacco opens up the gates to get from both worlds, like how when you're working with Cambo, how you get a burn, and that burn is then the gates. I think tobacco does that with the spirit world too. But just opens it up. Rites of passage, something that's missing out of our culture today, right, you guys? So what happens when we become a teenager now? We get the sex talk. We get put on birth control. We get to shove tampons up our, like, our unappreciated body parts. What else happens? Driver's license. You get to gamble. Woohoo! Go give your money to the dominator culture and addiction. Alcohol. Oh yeah, go harm your body. Allow in those spirits. Those negative entities. Sure, why not? Crazy. Do you know what rites of passage are in South America? Ayahuasca at 13. That was the same kind of thing that they did in Egypt too. It's different. It's It's different world now. Rituals of greeting: kava kava, kola nuts, and pituri. And so kola, like again, right? So this is a ritual of greeting is kola. So some guy went to Africa, was greeted with cola, said, "Oh, I get a nice feeling off of this," went and patted in Coca-Cola, and now how many people is Coca-Cola killing today? Oh, it's right there. Thank you, Susan. I'll see you shortly, okay? All right. This feels really good to vent, by the way, you guys. I love books, make me so comfortable. I'll just read to you all the time. If you like this, let me know. I'll do more of it. Okay, so cola and patchouli. Okay, burial rituals: cola nuts, alcohol, divination, henbanes, angel trumpets, salvia divinorum, and thorn apples again, which is datura. So that's cool, eh? Divination, salvia divinorum. We can get that legally here. You can get that legally just about everywhere. It's a type of mint, I believe. Um, and I've played around with that in my younger days, and it was really euphoric. I never thought of it actually to be with divination, but I'm curious to try it. I know that Terence McKenna's partner, um, Kathleen Harris or Kathleen Harrison, she talks very much on Salvia divinorum and still stays in contact with the family that her and Terence stayed with down in Mexico, and they use Salvia divinorum down there for the heart. So perhaps this is one of the medicines that's going to really help with the effects from what's happened collectively through the medical interventions, the public medical interventions. This might be one of those medicines. I'm not saying for sure. It's just a feeling I have. All right. So if you're, yeah, it might be helpful. It's used in divination though, so I'm curious personally for those reasons. Rain magic and rain ceremonies is henbane and saguro, which is a type of wine or herb used in wine. Healing rituals within a religious cult, they use nutmeg. Nutmeg is one of my favorite teachers and my favorite meme feeds ever. David Avocado Wolf. Nutmeg is something that he grows, absolutely swears by, and yes, it's a little psychedelic. All right. For harmful magic, you can also use Yage, ayahuasca, datura. For purification rituals, you'd use the black drink, gua yusa, enemas, and incense. Sexual magic rituals, Tantra, Taoism, or Taoism, cult of Aphrodite. For that, you'd use mandrakes, damina, oriental joy pills, and yohimbai. Initiation to secret societies, cults, and communities. So this would be iboga and the madzoka medicine. For ritual ceremonies led by priests, incense, wine, spiced coffee. Throat gets sometimes. All right. Mystery cults, Hyoma, Kaikion wine, socially integrative rituals, plants like cacaos, hemps, cat, cola, Blanchet beer chicha, like I talked about in South America. You guys know, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. The shaman come down, they're like, medicine, medicine. And then the music is medicine. Oh, it's such a community. It's beautiful. I understand the socially integrative ritual circles. I love that. I'm definitely gonna do that when I got everything going with retreats on my own land and things too. Palm wine, perceptual training, tea, ceremony, and kodo incense. For meditation, here you guys go. Anyone who's smoking the hippie herb, hemp again, cannabis indica for meditation. Coffee for meditation. Coffee, once you hit 4 cups of caffeine. So if you did like 4 espressos or something, uh, I don't know if that's exactly how they do it, and it's a lot. Okay, so I'm not saying do this, but apparently, like uh, I could. There's no way I could do this. Let me tell you that my nervous system would be like, ah. But I guess 4 shots of it. That is the hallucinogenic part. That's when you'll start feeling the effects. Personally, my system will go into like shock after a few sips. I'm like off the wall, and then I got the shakes if like once I have a cup or more. So it's not, coffee's not my thing, but I do like it and I do see the benefits in it. Sometimes, sometimes I have it once a week, sometimes I have it sometimes I skip that week, you know. Okay, so meditation, we also have cat, tea, and soma. So soma is one of those ones that hasn't really been proven what it is, but people have different ideas what it is. I'm just gonna finish up here with one more, and then we'll say goodbye. Actually, do you know, we'll save this one for next time. This is the set and setting. So, obviously there's 3 parts to ceremony. There's the setting your intentions before, there's the actual experience, and then there's the integration afterwards. Back in the day, though, it was all set and setting, and I'm going to go into that and how it was spoken on, the traditional way. These guys are doctors too, so it's a mix between the spirit and the science. For now, I'll say goodbye. If you guys want to see more of this, of course, let me know, and I'll keep getting it out to you. We're over time though, and then the kids have already been in here, so I'll go hang out with them. Really grateful for you spending this time with me. I love you all so much. Bye for now.